Welcome back to Sunday Vibes 1 and all. This is the show where you send in questions and we answer them while sat in a pub. The first one was sent in by Smithy and he says, who is going to win the World Cup final? Now we're shooting this on Thursday. The World Cup happens on Sunday. This goes out on Sunday. What are your thoughts?
It's Adam Smith.
It's
from
not
Soccer AM. Keep your nut down.
It is not Adam Smith. It's just Smithy12XZ.
Big fan of Smithy.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's going to be France. Like, look, something crazy can always happen, but you look at France in the tournament so far, and even when their attack hasn't been at the races, their defence has been dominant. Like, going into the semi-finals, their defence was actually conceding the fewest expected goals per game, though their attack was actually putting up the fewest expected goals in attack per game, which is crazy, really. But they can attack when they want to. If they get the chance to counter, they will be
champs, isn't it,
lethal.
those numbers?
They're so boring. I mean, they are, when you look at the talent in that squad, they should be a lot more exciting, but what they are is professional. They don't really make mistakes. They don't give up anything at the back. And they've got the guys up front who can create something out of nothing. Like, I would love nothing more than for Mbappe to have a huge final.
And I mean, underestimate Croatia at your peril, but their strength is their technical ability in midfield, right? And they're coming up against a midfield who are just as strong in that department, but also superior in terms of their physical attributes. Paul Pogba, N'Golo Kante, Blaise Matuidi,
Tolisso.
Corentin Tolisso, yeah, Jesus. And the strength and depth in that department for France is immense too. So it's going to be a difficult challenge and a different challenge to the one they faced against England. Because France also don't mind sitting back, creating that deep block, having the two banks of four quite close to one another, do they? I also am going to go for a France victory. I'm not exactly putting myself out there, but Croatia, amazing pedigree. They've reached a final having only played in 5 tournaments. And Dejan Lovren put on his Instagram that he's the best defender in the world. So, you know,
Fair
so they've got the best defender in the world.
They've got the best defender in the world.
He actually said one off.
Oh, well, that's modest of them. But the thing about them, the thing that frustrates me about Croatia is they have all the talent, which would suggest that you'd want to build through the middle. You'd want to pack the midfield and say we're going to rip through the centre of the park because we've got guys who can pass and dribble through midfield. But instead, they've got this far through crossing. They're a very cross-heavy team. They cross an enormous amount. Even last night, you know, the Perisic goal.
Great goal as well. That was a fantastic finish.
It's amazing. But if Kyle Walker doesn't go to sleep a little bit, then it probably doesn't happen. And a lot of the time, the ball was just going out to Vasalko on the wing, and he was whipping it in. Now, when you look at France's back four, Pavard and Luka Hernandez are kind of out of position playing where they are because they're actually more natural centre-backs. Yeah. So you've essentially got 4 centre-backs playing in a back line.
Much more conservative as a result. Pavard has bombed on in certain games, but yeah, they've been a little bit... They've played very close to their centre-backs, haven't
and
they?
That height.
For the large...
That height alone should just be like such a weapon against them. Like Mandzukic against Varane, like there's nobody, barring like a fully fit Pepe. I'm not sure there's anyone you really want marking Mandzukic more.
I also think France are going to win. I think that last night, obviously in the England game, I actually thought that Sterling was causing chaos in and around the Croatia backline. I don't think they knew how to deal with his movement and his pace. I think that's probably one of the first times Croatia have faced genuine pace in the tournament. I don't feel Russia really have it. And I just felt like when he was dragging the centre-backs and the wing-backs wide, they were getting badly exposed in the one-on-one. And I think that Kylian Mbappe, he's going to be a frightening test for that backline because it's not a pacey Croatian backline, and Kylian Mbappe will do things to them they have not experienced in this tournament. He's going to pull them all over the place. He's going to be pulling, when he drags Vida out, what he often does, Kylian Mbappe, is he kind of picks the ball up in that half space between midfield and defence, and he produces one heavy touch and then he's just around you. And I feel like the fullbacks for Croatia might struggle a little bit in that area, and I think when Vida was getting dragged into areas one-on-one against Sterling, he was kind of getting a little bit exposed, and it gave a lot of room for Harry Kane to get in and around. So I think that Kylian Mbappe could have a field day against Croatia. I really do. I think Griezmann as well.
Against England, didn't they? Croatia.
They did.
And I think Brozovic dropped a little bit deeper. It gave Modric a little bit more licence to go forward. And I think they're going to face a similar test in terms of that forward dynamic because Giroud often drops deeper, doesn't he, and hopes to flick it on to Kylian Mbappe. And that's what Harry Kane was doing with Sterling. So I think France will take a lot of hope from seeing how effective that front pairing were. But when will Croatia run out of energy?
I don't know. It's incredible.
The amount of work they put in, I mean, I wasn't particularly enthused with Rebic's performance last night. Very robust, putting his weight around, but I think he put in 4 tackles and interceptions, you know, for a wide player. That is ridiculous. And when you've got sort of that team spirit, that togetherness, and having Croatia having come through those sort of scenarios, I mean, the momentum is kind of with them, right? France have been patchy.
They've been stop-start.
I suppose they've come good, haven't they? After the round of 16, they played decent football against Argentina. That's the first time we kind of saw their prowess up front. But yeah, I think it's going to be much harder for the French than maybe people are making out.
Well, they're going to have the ball, aren't they? And Croatia are going to want to counter-attack. Croatia are perfectly happy to do that. I mean, but the interesting thing for me would be like the way that a booking can just change a game. So, for instance, last night I thought the ref was quite lenient at first.
That's an understatement. How the did Lovren not get booked in that first?
But that's the thing, right? Like, if one of those fullbacks or one of the central midfielders gets a booking early on in the game, then they can't tactically foul the way that they were later on in the match. Yeah. There were loads of points. You were talking about Sterling exposing, but the thing is, whenever he exposed someone, whenever Kane did it, that person could just kind of hack him down and move on. And the thing is, if you get a booking earlier in the game, suddenly that tactic goes out of the window, and that can change the whole complexion of a game.
Yeah, I also thought that England looked a little bit leggy last night, and like you said, Croatia have played a lot of games, but I did think Jesse Lingard was still getting into exceptional areas in and around the box. And there was one really good chance where the ball was rolled back to him by Dele Alli, and he should have done a lot better. And I just kind of think that Antoine Griezmann playing in that same sort of drifting, I don't want to say false number, but kind of a number 10 role, I think is going to cause Croatia a lot of difficulties. And Croatia obviously combated that quite well in the second half. They obviously changed their tactics at half-time, pressed England a lot higher, pressed Jordan Pickford in particular really well, and it caused us to go long quite heavily. And I think that France are slightly more adept at playing out from the back than potentially England, although England have done it at times very well in this tournament. I think that Rafa Varane and Samuel Umtiti's ability from deep and Paul Pogba dropping in between the centre-backs to pick up the ball is perfect. The perfect foil for that Croatian press.
Yeah, they've just got more press-breaking midfielders,
Definitely.
right? Like Kante's ability to win the ball and then accelerate away from markers is
just
absolutely unbelievable. Pogba as well.
I feel like Henderson, as good as he is, does sometimes struggle against the press, and because Ali and Lingard are quite advanced, there was a bit of a disconnect between our midfield and
So I think Sweden. I think Henderson's been great against the press, particularly against Sweden. Really but what France do have is the ability to be a bit more practical, a bit more pragmatic, don't they? Lloris can just pump it forward, and Lloris isn't the best distributor at times. So I can't imagine they're going to be relying on him in terms of playing it out from the back. But yeah, I think they can just kind of pump it to midfield, and like I say, that power in the middle might prevail over their technicality. But I think, Perisic targeting Walker last night wasn't a mistake. I think he is their joint top contributor at 2 goals at a major tournament level with the legendary Davor Suker on 10. And I think that this golden generation of Croatia, you sense that a lot of them know it's their final opportunity. Yeah. And you can't really quantify that kind of manic desperation, that willingness to win, can you? Yeah. And I think that's what we saw last night. And we've seen against Russia. I mean, they've gone behind in 2 games, haven't they? Russia, and what is the game that I'm forgetting?
England.
Was it a game prior to that as well?
The round of 16,
Denmark.
Croatia.
Denmark. Did they go 1-0 down to Denmark and they drew 1-1 and went to extra time?
I don't remember. God, man, there's too many games.
But I think they are the first team, right, since England in 1990 to go to the final. All of the fixtures previously going to extra time.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So in 28 years.
I mean, so they are going to have those miles in their legs.
They're a battler. Should we just get a final prediction then before we move on to the next question? What are our score predictions? I'm going to go 2-0. I think that France will get an early goal and then just have too much for Croatia going forward. Yeah,
I think France is going to win, but I want Croatia to win. What an underdog story this is. A population of 4.4 million. It's like Scotland getting to a World Cup final.
At the same time, though, I think that I feel like Kante and Pogba should be the front runners for player of the tournament.
Oh my God,
that's
an
interesting question.
Go on then, let's just roll into it.
So okay, I think France are also going to win. I said 3-1, I believe before. But golden ball then. A couple of candidates. You've said Eden Hazard before. I think
very, very good
I
tournament.
think Eden Hazard. I would go for Eden Hazard just because I think that in the crunch games for Belgium, when it really mattered, both against France and Brazil, was it they played in the game previously to that? I thought he was the best player in the park in both games.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I mean, he was great, but I thought Lukaku was actually more decisive in both those games.
I thought Lukaku wasn't decisive against France. I thought that he was manhandled out of the game by Umtiti and Varane, and I thought that there was a struggle disconnect between midfield and Lukaku in that game.
I think he had 22 touches against France, but there's no shame being bossed out of the game by Varane and Umtiti.
And they don't beat Brazil or Japan without Lukaku, whereas they could have done it without Hazard. I think, maybe.
If Mbappe makes this final his own, he will win the Golden Ball. There's a lot of kind of people. I think there's a lot of candidates. Paul Pogba, particularly on that France side. Paul Pogba, N'Golo Kante. Paul Pogba shown against was it Argentina?
It was against Belgium.
He was amazing against Belgium. Amazing against Argentina.
And Belgium. Totally different kind of performances in each game as well, right? He's shown his versatility. He's actually shown that he can be disciplined, tactically speaking. So I think he's up there. But
I think
Kieran Trippier. Come on, Kieran.
Kieran Trippier has had one of the most surprising tournaments.
He'll be right back in the tournament. He'll be in the team of the tournament.
Definitely. I knew that Trippier was a fantastic player, but I'll be honest, having watched him in the Premier League, I didn't expect this level of consistency from him. I think without him, you take him out of that side, and England are a shadow of the team they've been at this tournament, mainly from his set-piece delivery, his ability to cross, his ability to get forward on the overlap. I thought every time England were on that right-hand side, Trippier is bombing past his man.
Yeah, second half he wasn't great.
Didn't put a foot out of place already.
Against Croatia, but apart from that, yeah.
All right, so Golden Ball, I would agree. I think Mbappe gets...
But who do you think... Okay, bar him scoring the winning goal in the final, who right now has been the best player of the tournament? If you pick a person to win the Golden Ball, who do you go for?
I'm kind of leaning towards N'Golo Kante, and it's been difficult because we've worked a lot of games, and when you're watching them, when you're doing the live streams, it's quite hard to appreciate other aspects of people's game. It's got to be someone from the France side. N'Golo Kante, Paul Pogba, Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's a shout for Rafa Varane as well. I think Varane's been absolutely immense this tournament. He's just, because obviously over the last few seasons he's not struggled for game time, but I think last season was his first, well for me at least anyway, the first time I've really seen Varane say, this is my shirt, I'm taking this position, I am the world's probably in the top 5 best centre-backs in the world. And at this tournament he's just taken it to a whole new level. So I would potentially say Varane or Kante. But Mbappe has been phenomenal.
It's been great.
Mbappe will definitely take the Golden Boy award. Even if he doesn't win the Golden Boy, he's going to take the Golden
He has
Boy
to,
award.
really.
So I think Kane's going to win the boot as well, isn't he? So
I've heard a lot of stuff about Modric, but for me, I think it's Kante as well, and I actually don't think it's particularly close. I think Kante has been. I don't think he's put a foot wrong in the tournament. I think he's been unbelievable.
Modric has an oversight. I'd definitely put him in there.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves a shout, but I was seeing people on Twitter saying Modric should win it easily, Modric should win Golden Ball and then the Ballon d'Or and stuff. It's just I'm sorry, but N'Golo Kante has been... N'Golo Kante has gone from being a good destroyer in, was it Ligue 2? To being the best destroyer in the Premier League, to being also an excellent distributor, to being a ground-eating, box-to-box midfielder. He's just a one-man midfield. He's been so amazing this tournament. And if they win the World Cup, it's basically because of him, in my view.
So we're going France win it. Golden Boot, I think it's going to be Harry Kane now, isn't it? Despite the fact he hasn't
Unless
been
Lukaku gets a hat-trick in the third place.
It's going to be Harry Kane. Golden Ball, is going to go to one of the French squad. Has to be. And then, what other ones? Golden Boy is going to be Mbappe, definitely. There's no doubt about that.
Imagine the alternate universe, though, where Croatia win, Modric wins the Ballon d'Or, Ronaldo's now gone to Juventus.
Crazy.
Eden Hazard goes to Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be sick.
But what are your predictions for the rest of the tournament? Who's going to win the Golden Boot, the Golden Ball, the Golden Boy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and please don't cheat if you're watching this after the finals already happened.
We're watching.
Don't be sad, we know what you've done.
Before we move on to our next question, then a quick reminder for you guys that the 12th Man, our fantasy football show, is returning for 10 episodes at the end of this month. We're going to guide you through pre-season, tell you how to beat your mates. We're going to impart some wisdom, and we've got some amazing prizes to give away as well. Tickets to finals, Van Straten, shirts, PlayStation 4s.
Tease me.
So make sure you sign up to our league which we'll be revealing very, very soon. Over to you, Joseph, for the next.
Yes, this one was sent in by Boggle_93. If you want to get your question read out, send it to us on YouTube, Twitter. All of the handles are in the description
What a game.
below. Yeah, I know. He says, though, not the game, the man, says, will Juventus win the Champions League now they've signed Ronaldo? And do you think anyone at all in Italy can catch him? Pato, how many goals, how many thousands of goals is Ronaldo going to score in Serie A?
I mean, probably about the same number. I think Serie A is generally a slightly weaker league in the sense that the worst teams in Serie A are worse than the worst teams in La Liga.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think there are more good teams in Serie A than there are in La Liga.
You talk about Benevento like that.
Yeah, I think he'll be rested quite a lot, you know, so that they can use him in the Champions League. Yeah, I think it'll be like Real Madrid, you know, where he'll be rotated a certain amount so that he can play the bigger games. Will they win the Champions League? I still think they need some midfield surgery. I really do.
Who's the current midfield? Khedira,
Pjanic. Yeah.
Matuidi.
They have got some young players coming through, Bernardeschi, but not in those central positions, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bernardeschi, I think is going to have a really good season. Like, he had a great end to the campaign. But yeah, I worry a little bit about the central midfield options. Obviously, they've just brought in Emre Can, but I don't really look at their midfield and see like a powerhouse, you know.
Yeah,
if you look at their squad, that's the weakest area to me.
I kind of agree because obviously when they lost Pogba, they replaced him with Pjanic, didn't they? And Pjanic has served a purpose in there. But obviously there was a lot of talk over the last 2 weeks that they're in talks with Moussa Dembele, and I can kind of see where that rumour has sprung from, and I think he would be a fantastic signing for Juventus.
From Tottenham?
Yeah, short term, definitely.
But the average age of their midfield is pretty high right now, isn't it? With Khedira, Matuidi, Pjanic is not young, is he? 27, 28. Marquisio, arguably might be leaving. I've seen reports that he's after first in
They've
football,
often got the best out of ageing players.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Emre Can. I think he's a very solid addition, and Massimo.
Yeah, me too.
Allegri will probably get more out of him, and he was maturing as a player towards the end of his tenure at Liverpool, wasn't he? But Ronaldo, I think this is just a brilliant move. I think Jorge Mendes and Ronaldo just keep finding ways to make him the most relevant player in world football, to always put him at the epicenter of all the drama. I think you're right. I don't think Serie A is significantly weaker than La Liga, but it's going to extend his playing career by maybe a year, 2 years at the top, domestically speaking. So they've signed him on a 4-year contract.
Yeah.
Reportedly on up
money.
to wages of 500k a week, which we discussed last week. So I'm not going to go into
50 million a year. He's
sort of the numbers.
200 million.
Crazy, but what does this mean for Higuain?
I think Higuain's got to go, man. I just don't see where Higuain fits into this system. Where does Higuain
Brilliant
play?
first season, decent second season, but he is definitely declining. Do you think that played a part in their minds? We can get a decent chunk for him now and bring in this blockbuster signing and make Juventus a major player again? Because, I mean, you saw the impact this had on, you know, Paulo Dybala Instagramming about it, Khedira talking about it, Ramos. Like, this is going to help Juventus attract, I think, the top crop of youngsters as well,
definitely.
having Ronaldo at the club.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know, if you can get money for Higuain, I guess you let him go and you rely on Mandzukic and Dybala to be like your sort of backup forwards, as it were, plus Bernardeschi, Costa. You've got these guys who can fill roles as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to move Higuain on if I were Juventus. Like, you've got a couple of years up for him. They essentially took a massive gamble on winning the Champions League. Like, that's why they bought Higuain, and it didn't quite pay off. They got to a final, but it didn't quite work out. Well, it looks like they've got plenty of money and that they can do this. This is only going to be the second season, I think, in the last 10 where they haven't been in the black at the end of the campaign.
And you get to the Champions League final and you've accumulated 50 million by that time, haven't you, in extra prize funds?
Sure.
So those two runs to the finals effectively paid for Ronaldo. Allegri deserves to kind of go in.
I think the trouble with
these sort of
Higuain,
moves.
though, is where's his suitor? Chelsea potentially have a look at him. Obviously, Sarri's taking over this week. That's at least what De Laurentiis has said. He's definitely bringing Jorginho with him by the looks of him for about 50, 60 million pound. Massive scoop for Chelsea that, by the way, because obviously Man City were heavily interested and believed they had agreed a deal. I think I read a report by Jamie Jackson in The Guardian that basically said that City are fuming that De Laurentiis has come out and said that he's going to join Chelsea. Apparently the player wants to live in London over Manchester, and I think City all but thought they'd sewn a deal up for him. So to see him in blue is going to be a big blow to Guardiola. Yeah, it's going to be on absolute Bunsen burner. But I
Dirt.
think
Dirt
that
McGurk
Sarri move has effectively convinced Jorginho to go. Obviously, loved playing under Sarri, and
Yeah.
Sarri's taking over at Chelsea. He's going to be living in London.
God,
That's
if
exactly
there was
what they need.
If there was a Napoli exodus and some of them went to Chelsea, that would.
I'm excited about that, but I
Spice
wouldn't
the race.
necessarily.
They need a bunch of those
Yeah.
guys.
I wouldn't necessarily think that. I wouldn't necessarily see Higuain in that team. I just don't think don't see where he plays. Does he? If Higuain comes in, what does that mean for Morata? Morata's career's over at Chelsea if Higuain comes.
Morata's definitely not going to Juventus now, is he? Which is kind of where we maybe saw him going before. But so yeah, I'd imagine Morata's going to stay. I don't think there's going to be many people who are willing at this point to give Chelsea their money back for Morata.
No, I don't either. I think Higuain, if Higuain doesn't go, then Mandzukic will, and Mandzukic is going to have suitors. There's going to be not the most expensive player.
How old's Mandzukic now? 34?
Yeah, but mate,
Maybe a bit younger.
Mandzukic will have suitors. He's not going to be at price point that Higuain's
Yeah, I mean, we're Man United.
I think Man United
supposedly
were very interested in him.
But I think Allegri will keep him just because of the roles he can play. He can cover you on the wing. He can cover you up front. Like, he's incredibly hard-working. Just a different weapon.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, is his name Boggles' other half of his question where he says, is anyone going to catch Juventus? No, absolutely not now. Serie A's shot to bits now, especially with Sarri leaving, taking Jorginho with him.
Oh, can't wait to see Ronaldo in Juventus top.
I mean,
He's gonna look pissed.
Inter are off the pace. AC are nowhere there. Obviously, Napoli were the closest challengers.
They'll probably take a step back.
I think
Yeah,
I actually
Juventus
think
gonna
Inter
blow it.
Roma are turning over the squad.
Inter could be the biggest challengers next season.
Yeah,
Spalletti's
probably.
kind of got the house in order. He's added Nainggolan. He's added a couple of other promising players like Skriniar. No, not
Looks like-
Skriniar, sorry.
He's
De
a
Vrij,
centre-half,
De
De
Vrij.
Vrij.
It looks like Malcolm might come in on the wing, and they desperately need creativity because that was what they lacked last season.
Goals from open play were in short supply.
Well, Ronaldo's going to blow that
Candreva's
league
old.
open anyway. I see Ronaldo getting 30 to 40 league goals next season. Fairness
I
and
don't know if he'll
out.
play enough
Yeah,
games
exactly.
to get 30 to 40 league goals because, I mean, Real Madrid last season I think he started 26 and scored 25. I see him putting up similar numbers to that.
I think he'll start more games than that. I don't know. I actually think that Juventus's sports science department will just beast him. They just always seem to do it, man.
They have a great squad now, don't they, Juventus?
Yeah,
Look
incredible.
at some of the players that have been reported to leave as well, like Uriganis.
I think that's a risk though, selling Regani.
I don't think they will.
No, I thought the deal had been done with Chelsea.
With Chelsea, I don't know, but they're such a well-rounded squad now. I don't know if Sarri. I mean, he had him at Empoli, didn't he?
Yeah, and
So
I think
there is past.
He's very keen to bring him. Definitely very keen to bring him to Chelsea. But I think
Well,
Juventus
everyone
want 40 mil for him.
Everyone wants Regani. You know, Arsenal made inquiries two seasons ago and the season before that. Like that was something that Juve revealed recently, and we kind of all knew that was going on. But I think I don't know I just think that if Juve are going to say, right, we're going to get Ronaldo, and this is, you know, as good as he is and as well as we think he's going to age, it is still a relatively short-term move to make. Then it makes sense to go all in on winning the Champions League in the short term. In
That's
which
what
case,
their goal
I'm
is.
fine with a move for Moussa Dembele if he's going to give you 2 seasons and maximise your chance of winning the Champions League.
Moussa Dembele's a signing. It would be amazing.
But if you're going to spend this much money on this player, you've got to plug all those little gaps and say this is the year when
But
we win
it's
the
actually the
Champions
perfect
League.
starting point, isn't it? It's the perfect way to reinvigorate that squad. How do you, and we talk about legacy quite a bit, don't we, and how hard it is for a team to maintain those high levels. We saw it at the World Cup with past champions crashing out. And when you pose that question, if you're Beppe Morata and you're sat in the boardroom, you're like, how do I reinvigorate Juventus this season, a side that's won 7 Serie A's on the trot and has gone to the Champions League final twice and lost? Signing Ronaldo actually ticks so many boxes, doesn't it? It just creates
Literally.
a buzz.
I also
And Allegri's going to stay happily for another year or 2 years.
Just going back to your point on Moussa Dembele, the reason I think Moussa Dembele would be such a good signing, I think he's got 1 year left on his contract. He's not going to cost an awful lot of money coming from Tottenham Hotspur. And I know that Juventus' midfield is ageing a little bit. We talked about it a minute ago, and Moussa Dembele would not be a young option. But like you said, Ronaldo's been bought in short term. Is there a better short term midfield option than Moussa Dembele in world football?
I don't know if Khedira stays. I don't think Moussa Dembele will be brought in. That's my feeling on it. But if they sold
I think
Khedira,
he can play more progressively for Juventus than he does at Tottenham.
Yeah, I don't know. They're just so set in that 4-2-3-1, aren't they?
He'd be a more natural fit for the Matuidi role than Matuidi is right now, though.
On that left-hand side.
Well, just to the left of Pjanic and basically use kind of advancing play through the midfield. Like Pjanic is your deep passer.
He wouldn't start every game.
Dembele can be your dribbler.
He would start in the Champions League for me, Moussa Dembele, in a similar way to Cristiano's going to do.
Yeah, I think you always have to play.
I personally think there's just better options out there, maybe.
I don't, not for the amount they're looking for to get Moussa Dembele.
If Thiago's knocking around, then get
same. But then you've also got Tottenham have got to let him or want him to leave, haven't they?
I think he's pretty open that Tottenham are open to selling Moussa Dembele to any club that's not in England.
I genuinely haven't seen that.
Yeah, no. Well, he's been in talks obviously heavily with Napoli as well. So it's effectively between Juventus and Napoli where Moussa goes this summer.
You know what? If Juve
interesting.
want a kind of all-action midfielder, and knowing their sports science, then I wouldn't worry so much about injury history as maybe other clubs. If Aaron Ramsey doesn't sign a new contract, they could take Aaron Ramsey off Arsenal, because I think under Allegri he would be the player that Arsenal fans make out.
Do you think he would go to Italy?
I hope he would. Like I always hope a player would take an opportunity like that to better themselves.
200k a week, like you have.
Probably not, but they'd offer him the chance to win things, which we won't.
Zing.
So yeah, he'd maybe make a little bit less money, but they could offer him like performance bonuses and stuff like that. And at this stage of his career, like he's 27, it's going to be his last chance to earn a major trophy, and I think that would actually be a really good move. I think maybe he doesn't have the potential that Emre Can does, because Emre Can's a bit younger, but he's certainly a much better player at the moment, I think.
I was really surprised they didn't hoover up Torreira.
Yeah.
That's exactly the sort of thing they do, isn't it? £30 million salary.
I think he had his heart set on Arsenal a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think they can match the wages there. Like for that level of player, like Premier League clubs can just blow them out.
And there's still so much that they can just hoover up any Italian talent that comes through any Italian team, effectively, can't they? So they probably thought about Lucas Torreira. We'll miss out on him. We're going to take the next golden youngster that comes through.
Sure.
Should we move on to quickfire questions then?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go quickfire. The first quickfire question was sent in by Scott Raven. He says, if you could punch one footballer, who would it be and why?
Oh, what a question.
So many.
I wish I'd actually prepared for this.
Luis Suarez for me.
Should we say at this World Cup?
Luis
Narrow
Suarez.
it down a little bit.
At this World Cup?
All right, let's
Luis
go for the World
Suarez.
Cup.
Yeah, I don't know. Luis Suarez just rubs me up the wrong way. Just can't stand it.
I mean, Neymar's definitely deserved a slap.
Neymar's a great
I don't know
shout.
if a punch.
Yeah, he's more of an open
He's more of a slap.
Backhand. Yeah.
What is it called? Granny slapping. Do you remember that? What was that called?
Happy slapping.
Happy slapping.
Granny slapping. I you didn't slap any grannies, man. That's
happy
bang
slap
out of order. It's definitely something you lot would have done in Exeter as well, isn't it?
Go on then, who else?
Oh
Pato?
my, no,
Neymar,
I need a minute. This is
you haven't got a minute, mate.
This is the first question you've ever asked me that actually matters to me.
It's a quick fire question, mate. This is not quick fire answers.
First time I've seen Pat feel under pressure.
He's sweating here.
So many people I'd like to
Dripping.
punch. Who's a turbo dickhead?
The opposite of quickfire, isn't it? This.
Literally the opposite of quick
You've
fire.
actually ruined the whole,
Shut up.
the whole
It's
idea.
taking 20 seconds.
Who's got a really punchable face? I don't know, John Stones I think would just pull a great face of surprise.
What?
He'd just be funny.
John Stones.
Pat's taking John Stones.
I don't know. Mario Mandzukic.
You've absolutely bottled that.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, well, you rushed me. You don't get a good product when you
Think
rush
about
me.
it in the background, come back to it at the end. The next one was sent in by Hoskell de Augustin. He sends one in every week. Big up yourself. He says, has Gigi Buffon just blown his chance of winning the Champions League next season by moving to PSG after the Ronaldo transfer?
No, I think Szczesny is a top goalkeeper, and they've been waiting to transition him into the first team for a long time. There were moments when Buffon had to drop out of Juventus's starting lineup last season, particularly in the Champions League. I think it was against Olympiacos, maybe. I remember Szczesny being brilliant. He was brilliant for Roma as well, wasn't he? A couple of seasons prior. So it's his time. They needed to move on. Right thing to do.
Yeah,
agreed. And also, it's not like he's completely chance. PSG are well in with a shout this year under Thomas Tuchel. I'm excited to see Buffon under Thomas Tuchel and that entire PSG.
He's actually better than Trapp, isn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely going to start there as well, so I wouldn't worry about that. The next one was sent in by Nandash Kishore. Okay, he says, will a Latin American side ever win the World Cup? If so, who would have the best chance? I mean,
sorry, what?
What? I mean, quite a few have won the World Cup in the past, so.
Does he mean what?
Not too sure about that question.
American again?
I think maybe he means
CONCACAF
Central American. I think let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say Central American.
Mexico certainly have the capabilities to do it one day.
Yeah.
I mean, though that said, they've been huge football fans forever, and they've never really built a team that will trouble the top.
I'm sure the USA will eventually.
The USA have regressed, though, haven't they? A couple of terrible managerial appointments.
But the nature of the beast, the size of America, eventually they'll back it enough and fund it enough.
Hosting it, aren't they?
Yeah.
2026?
I believe
Yep,
2026, yeah.
That would be decent, that tournament.
It will.
Little road trip.
Simeon Artist 92 says, how much can you spend on a player so that they are still classed as a bargain in this market? I think it depends completely on the classification of the player. There are certain
value.
players that even at 60, 70 million are a bargain depending on where they're going, who they're going from.
Even more than
who
that,
the player is.
if Real Madrid managed to get Kylian Mbappe this summer for 150 million quid, we'd say, oh, that's a bit of a bargain, given that he went for more than that a year ago.
Exactly. And at the other end of the
relative to expectations.
And at the other end of the spectrum, you could get, let's say Harry Maguire moved for 30 million. I would say that's a bargain. For
so last season, last season, for instance, we all said that our bargain of the season before the season started was Mo Salah, and he went for between 35 and 40 million pounds.
Exactly.
That was an awful lot of money 3 or 4 years ago. Now that looks like incredibly good value for a world-class player.
It's not the player, is it? It's the situation as well. It's I know this club needs X, so I'm going to charge them Y. Like with Riyad Mahrez to Manchester City. Leicester, is he a £70 million player, given that Liverpool are going to sign Shaqiri for 13 mil? I'm not quite sure. I think he's one of the best wingers in the Premier League, but Leicester know that Manchester City have the money, stick a 20 million surplus on there. So don't play the player, play the situation. Yeah,
Lewis Brown has the next one. He says, can you see a current Championship side winning the Premier League in the next 10 years? No. Obviously not. No. Absolutely no chance. The top 6 monopoly will not be broken for the next 10 years.
Wolves is going to win it, and Jorge Mendes will captain the side.
Yeah, potentially. Jorge Mendes literally will pick up a winner's medal if that happens. It'd be insane. The final one was sent in by James Hyde, who says, who in the England World Cup squad is most likely to make a big money move this summer?
I think United could do a lot worse than Maguire.
Yeah, I would absolutely have Harry Maguire at Manchester United. Obviously, that would probably mean the end of one of Phil Jones or Chris Smalling, which I would fully be behind. I think one of those two could be in for a big money move. I also think there is a potential shout for Danny Rose to be involved in a big money move this summer. I don't know what his future
really unfortunate that he was injured coming into the tournament.
Exactly, and I'm not sure really where he fits in that Tottenham team with Ben Davies being so strong and Pochettino having such a connection with him, and obviously the fallout with Tottenham. So I think Danny might move this summer for a fairly sizable chunk, and if he goes, it's probably 40, 50 million pounds.
Good shout.
Any others?
I think those are all the kind of main ones. Everybody else is pretty well ensconced in a
everybody
top
else
club.
is going for a top side.
And you got the word ensconced in there.
Unless it's Harry Kane to Real Madrid, which would be insane.
Stop it.
Insane.
And that'll be the title. Temps just creamed himself.
Yeah, somewhere Temps just went, oh, Kane. Oh.
Spaffed everywhere.
Adam Temps, let him know what you think.
Jisms.
Oh my God.
We finish as ever on personal questions. This one was sent in by Eminem, not the actual Eminem, just some bloke who's called himself Eminem. He says, what is/was your favourite computer game?
Oh, you're a fighter. Jedi Power Battles on the PS1.
What the hell is that?
What a game that was.
Does that not tell you exactly what that is?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, Earthworm Jim or Rayman on the Sega Mega Drive.
Oh,
GoldenEye and N64.
Crash Bandicoot, mate.
Gun noise 2 times in 2 weeks. Crash Bandicoot's a shout.
Crash Bandicoot?
Ratchet and Clank was actually my favourite.
When you used to hit that mask and you'd be like,
Ratchet and Clank was my favourite. That what when it was a checkpoint. Yeah, that was fun.
I think mine.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah, probably
all of them.
Was it Rising Sun?
Where you had a shotgun. Yeah, you started Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I think Medal of Honor potentially.
Right up there. I just used
to play that every day.
I'd play Spyro.
What was your console? What was the console you were most obsessed with, fixated on? Mine was PS1 for sure, man.
No, mine was.
Probably
Final Fantasy.
I played
N64.
The most of the time I spent was on Xbox 360.
Yeah.
Xbox 360 when I think it was Modern Warfare, the original. COD
Viva
4.
Pinata.
COD 4 was probably, in my opinion, the greatest ever, multiplayer
I think Modern Warfare 2 was for me. When you'd only get 6 in a party, wouldn't you? So all your mates would bomb home, and whoever lived the furthest away from school had to play on the opposition team.
Greatest ever multiplayer game.
Great for me.
Man, I remember like
games.
Quake 3. I remember like Time Splitters 2.
Time Splitters 2
was fucking amazing.
Time Crisis, mate.
Dino Crisis.
You always had that one friend who had the gun as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I have to say, yeah, Modern Warfare was the greatest Modern Warfare.
No, I mean, fair enough.
Was the greatest
But if you're
multiplayer
going to talk great multiplayer games, then all the Mario Karts are like some of the best games.
So I
ever
never
made.
really got into Mario Kart. It was never about me. I never had a Nintendo or nothing.
Sonic
Never had
on
a
the
Nintendo.
Dreamcast.
Sonic, yeah. But yeah, what were
Got
your
the Dreamcast.
greatest ever computer games, I guess? Personal question vibes. Should we go straight into the M board?
Yeah,
Yeah,
why
let's
not?
go.
What else is happening on Football Daily this weekend?
What else has happened?
Stat Wars, who's
OG
playing?
Stat Wars.
Stat Wars, me versus Van Straten again.
The real
because
champions.
Don Strapsy is coming in next week, wherein he's taking on Zach.
Third week in a row you said that.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting to look a little bit stupid. And then what is the other? The other semi-final is me versus Bobby Seagull, which I'm actually playing next week, but goes out the
Ooh,
week
now
after.
Bobby's tough.
So a couple of Stat Wars champions coming up for you. And Zach versus Jackson if Zach beats Don Strapsy.
Oh my God.
How
And
is
there's
he?
also
Which it's
Kieran's
fixed
comment
anyway, so
show.
we know that Zach will win.
Kieran's comment
Zach
show is
will be
also
descending?
there. Hot Takes is there. That'll be World Cup related, I imagine, as well. So go and check out all of our content this weekend across the Football Daily Network. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Goodbye.
Hot Takes is my favourite.
You are the weakest link.
You do look like Anne Robinson. Retro.